Recently, I've been talking a lot about the future of games, a future that really only has two alternatives. Most AAA companies want that future to be a dystopian world where you pay for games that barely pass as finished, but never own them, only to be drip-fed more dopamine by way of microtransactions when things get boring. But on the other side, there are developers who understand the average gamer, mostly indie companies, but they know that people just want to pay for a game and enjoy their time playing it without constantly being bled of their own hard-earned money. One of the companies that has done a decent amount of work to give us good games without trying to separate us all from our money is Larian Studios, which is kind of on the cusp between being an indie company or a AAA company. Perhaps it's best described as a AA company, but I'm not sure. What I am sure about is that they're more than happy to ignore the industry titans and do their own thing. You'll know them because they made Baldur's Gate 3, one of the most impressive games to come out last year, selling a ton of copies and genuinely shocking the industry. You see, Baldur's Gate 3 is a good game. It's built on top of a solid world, it's got an impressively expansive plot, and it looks really nice to boot, but it also had something that not a lot of games have these days, a mostly bug-free launch. In fact, Baldur's Gate 3 was so bug-free that people working at big game companies, who often fail to deliver a complete game at launch, and games journalists tried to tell gamers that they shouldn't expect to see games so well polished, and attacked the game for raising the bar on what a game launch should look like, as delivering a complete game might be too much for most developers, and they didn't want that to become the expectation. Now, of course, just 10 years ago, it would have been unthinkable to sell the game and not have it at least mostly bug-free. No one would buy a game that was incomplete or full of bugs, but somewhere, probably because of the increasing ease of access to the internet and the popularity of updating games on release using the internet, game companies began to just ship us slop that was barely playable, with the excuse, oh, we'll just fix it later and update the game. That wouldn't have flown even a few years back, and I think we were finally lucky enough to see a developer push back on that culture within the industry. You see, Larian Studios was at the DICE Awards, winning a number of awards for Baldur's Gate 3, and used their time on the podium to push back on the current industry climate, the current rush to get things to market before they're ready, along with the increasing prevalence of predatory microtransactions and battle passes, all as one common cause: increasing shareholder value, which is what all public companies exist for, though that often leads to bad things for the company itself, forcing the companies to shove in-game purchases in our faces, raise game prices, and basically do anything they can to take our money, all for a tiny fraction more shareholder value. Basically, the industry has slowly gone down a bad path by chasing short-term gains while forsaking their customers in the long term. Larian Studios has largely rejected these industry norms, and in one of their speeches at the DICE Awards, Larian Studios' head of production, David Walgrave, used his time to attack this worldview that's infecting the gaming industry. He said, "We ask you to pay one price only for the game, and that's it. You can own it for the rest of your life. We don't have shareholders, but we also don't think about them. There's an expression in Dutch, honesty lasts longest, or something. And then, we don't make decisions where we think this could make us the most money. In the long run, building a community, building a player base, building games that are actually fun is going to make you the most money. That's it." Which is well put and includes pretty direct digs at the current state of the market. Larian Studios gives me a little hope for the future of the gaming industry, because while other companies have forsaken the players to chase profits, Larian seems to be committed to providing high quality, entertaining, and most importantly, fun games. Knowing that if you get a reputation for having good, fun games, and for not nickel and diming your customer, then people will buy your games more than other companies. A strategy that has worked fairly well for them thus far, considering the success of Baldur's Gate 3. Hopefully, if they keep doing it as well as they have been doing, we might see other games companies try to use their model, realizing that the real way to make money isn't to make bad games full of purchases that make the game easier, but rather start making good games people want to play and won't put the customer into bankruptcy. I sincerely hope that Larian Studios continues down this path. There are worrying signs though, because though David Walgrave said they don't have shareholders, that's not explicitly true. It appears that Tencent owns a decent amount of the company, though it also appears that those shares may be non-voting, so they might not have a direct way to alter the company. It's unclear. But what I do know is that I associate Tencent with all of the worst things in the gaming industry. Now, it might just be my red-blooded American instincts, but I really dislike hearing any company associated with the Chinese Communist Party is involved with anything I like. Communists have a way of ruining things that is unparalleled in human history. But like I said, so long as they're staying quiet, I'll remain hopeful for Larian Studios. What do you guys think? Are you glad to see Larian call out the bad industry practices? Do you think their practices will ever catch on with other game studios? Are you worried about their association with Tencent? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. day, and God bless you.